You could bring it up. You've thought about it. The thing that's been sitting with you since last Tuesday, or last month, or honestly longer than that if you're being honest with yourself. You could mention it tonight. You could say, "Hey, can we talk about something?" You've done it before, but you already know, roughly, how that goes. Not badly. There's no fight, no shutdown, no cruelty. Just a kind of gentle deflection. A topic half heard and half engaged with. And, that means they're listening, but not really there. And then the moment passes, and the thing you brought up gets absorbed into the general background noise of the week, and nothing shifts. So this time, you don't bring it up. You let it go. Quietly, efficiently, without drama. You file it somewhere internal and you keep moving. And the person next to you, the person you've built a life with, who loves you, who would be genuinely shocked to hear any of this, has absolutely no idea that any of it happened. This is the video for both of you. For the person who stopped bringing things up, you haven't been described yet. Not accurately. Not in a way that didn't make you sound resentful or checked out, when the truth is more complicated and quieter than that. And for the person sitting next to them, or the person who might be, this is the video that explains what has been happening in the relationship you thought was fine. Stay with me, because the distance between these two people is almost always smaller than it looks, but only if someone notices it before it isn't. Here's what it looks like when both people are still reaching. In those relationships, effort moves in both directions with something close to regularity. One person suggests a plan, the other engages with it genuinely. One person brings something up that bothered them, the other person sits with it rather than redirecting. One person reaches, physically, emotionally, conversationally, and the other person turns toward it. Not perfectly, not every single time, but often enough that reaching continues to feel worth doing. That reciprocity isn't the result of two unusually compatible people. It's not luck, and it's not chemistry. It's the accumulated result of small moments handled well, over and over, across months and years. Someone said, "I've been thinking about something," and the other person put their phone down. Someone reached for a hand in a quiet moment and the hand was taken. Someone was in a slightly different mood and the other person asked why and actually waited for the answer. Those are not grand gestures, they are almost invisible. And the reason they matter more than anything else in a long-term relationship is something that one researcher spent decades trying to prove, and did. And here's where it gets interesting. Relationship psychologist John Gottman, after observing thousands of couples in his research lab at the University of Washington, identified something he called bids for connection. And it changed how relationship science understood what actually holds couples together. A bid is any attempt by one partner to engage the other. Some bids are obvious, "Can we talk?" or "I need you right now." But most bids are almost invisible. A sigh in the other room. A comment about something that happened at work. A mention of a memory. Reaching across the seat in the car. Showing the other person something funny on their phone. These are all bids. Small requests for attention, engagement, acknowledgement. For the basic confirmation that the other person is there and interested. And Gottman found that what determines the long-term health of a relationship isn't how much the couple loves each other, or how compatible they are, or how well they fight. It's what happens in response to those bids. He called it turning toward or turning away. When bids are consistently met, when the other person engages, responds, turns toward, the bidder learns something fundamental. Reaching works here. It's worth doing. This person receives me, and they keep reaching. But when bids are consistently missed, not cruelly, not intentionally, often entirely unconsciously, the brain of the bidder begins a slow, quiet calculation. This bid cost something. Emotional energy, a moment of vulnerability. And it returned almost nothing. And the brain, which is always running this calculation, begins to suggest, maybe not this time. Maybe save it. Maybe this particular thing isn't worth the response you're going to get. And then one day, With no announcement, no fight, no visible moment of decision, the person realizes they stopped suggesting things weeks ago, stopped initiating, stopped bringing the hard conversations they've been carrying internally. Not because they stopped loving their partner, because they stopped expecting that the love would be received. And there is a profound difference between those two things. Here's something wild. In Gottman's longitudinal research, tracking couples across years, sometimes decades, he found a specific number that predicts relationship survival more reliably than almost any other measure. Couples who stayed together turned toward each other's bids approximately 86% of the time. Couples who divorced turned toward them only 33% of the time. Not 100% versus 0, 86 versus 33. The couples who lasted weren't the ones who never missed a bid. They were the ones who missed fewer of them, consistently, over time. And the most important thing Gottman noted about the couples in the lower group wasn't that they fought more, or loved each other less, or were fundamentally incompatible. It was that by the time the relationship ended, one of them had usually stopped reaching, quietly, gradually, without ever saying so, long before the other person realized anything had changed. Here is what nobody says to either person in this situation. To the one who stopped trying, you did not give up on this relationship. You protected yourself from a specific, repeating pain, the pain of reaching toward someone and finding that the reach didn't land. That is not the same thing as not caring. It's what caring looks like when it runs out of places to go. When the bids have been met with enough deflection, enough half-presence, enough, that making another bid starts to feel like a choice between dignity and disappointment. You didn't stop loving your partner. You stopped believing, somewhere quiet and specific, that your love was going to be fully received if you kept showing it. And to the one who has no idea, you did not miss their bids on purpose. Most bids are quiet enough that missing them isn't a failure of love. It is a failure of attention. And attention, unlike love, which is usually still present in these relationships, can be redirected. It can be chosen. It can be turned back toward the person who stopped asking for it. The question in this relationship is not who is at fault. It almost never is. The question is whether either person knows what has been quietly happening. Because one of them usually does, and one of them usually doesn't. And that gap, that specific, silent gap, is the one worth crossing. The person who stopped trying hasn't left. They are still there, at dinner, in bed, at the weekend plans, in all the visible places a relationship occupies. They show up. They function. They might even still say I love you and mean it in some real way. But something essential has moved to a safer distance. Not because they wanted to create distance, because staying fully present in a place where your reaching isn't consistently met eventually asks something of a person that they cannot keep giving indefinitely. The couples who find their way back from this don't do it through grand gestures or dramatic confrontations. They do it through one person noticing. Noticing that the other person stopped suggesting things, stopped bringing things up, stopped initiating. And then asking, not with accusation, not with defensiveness, but with genuine curiosity. When did this happen? What did I miss? What have you been carrying that I didn't ask about? That question is not easy to ask, but it is the most important one available in this relationship right now. Not because of what it uncovers, because asking it proves that someone finally turned toward the person who had stopped expecting anyone would. If this landed, whether you recognized yourself as the one who stopped or the one who didn't notice, please subscribe. And the next video is the one that connects directly to this. It's about couples who keep having the same argument, year after year, without ever resolving it, and why underneath every single recurring fight, there's almost always a bid for connection that never got answered the right way. Click to watch.